I'm just thinking.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I mean, we got to talk. I'm using a parallel term here, but you got to talk about 0-day type things because anything technology
Totally.
could have that. Is there a back door where something like a Pegasus
Let's
could
talk about
get
it.
in and take stuff?
Let's talk about it. That is, Byron Tao wrote a book exposing all of this. It's a really well-researched book. He's excellent. And a prime subject of his book is a guy named Mike Yeagley, who we know he actually is a friend of our company. He's fantastic, very smart guy. And he's a consultant who works operationally for various agencies. And he can say some of this stuff publicly. You guys should have him on. But he'll say like, oh yeah, I was in, Central America finding, Chinese nationals or whatever.
Overthrowing governments.
Whatever, and
Right.
and what he does is he's done many things, but he lifted the veil on the risks here. And if I'm recalling, certainly one of the most famous things he did was he gave a presentation to leadership at the DoD showing how he used some commercial data, commercially available data that's out there for all of us, to find the home addresses of like an entire Delta team, which if you can imagine is like the biggest secret in the country, right? Like those guys can't be discovered, right? These are very important people in our security system, right? So, and he was able to do it with like no private information, just open source stuff and some advertising data. He similarly showed how the use of the app Grindr, which is a gay hookup app, he did an experiment there and he's like, look, here's the gay employee. He was showing like the risk for DoD employees who use this application. Foreign actors can easily be like, oh, if I want someone who's secretly gay and works at the boom, I got him. And he's like, guys, this is just out there. I just bought this, right?
Yep.
So the book sort of goes through these layers. And I think Byron Tao does a really great job explaining third-party doctrine, how we are living in a world on our phones that we don't realize we don't have Fourth Amendment protections. Our point is also, it's not just that we don't have data protections and Fourth Amendment protections. We also don't really have platforms that are aligned from a First Amendment perspective. Right, I mentioned the canceling of Alex Jones and how that was the beginning of where we ended up in COVID when, in 2021, like the president and his advisors were not allowed to talk on Apple or the web generally. Right. So I think in both of these areas, when it comes to free speech, freedom of association and communication, and data privacy, we really need to start making some new decisions. So back to this question of like, is this a honeypot? Like, are you actually stealing our data? I would say like, pause, let's slow down. let's look at what's around us. Number one, we're outsourcing verification of this to American cybersecurity companies. And that should be, we will continue doing that. And we want people to look at that. And I really mean this, do the test yourself. So I think that's one thing. The second thing I would say is understand your risks. Our risks are not some Mossad boogeyman who is infiltrated our company, getting data that's not coming out of our phones, which I'll explain in a moment, like that doesn't exist. Our risk is the commercial system we've signed up to that is putting all of our information in an open marketplace. That's very real. So I would encourage us to sort of be a little more clear-eyed here around this. Now, is it possible, there's a secret spyware thing? Again, like we have like people using this phone are those very operators that I described in other countries. And there's a reason they're using this phone because it's harder for their information to come off of this phone for adversaries to find their location. One of the challenges we need to face as a company, as a product, get this. We deal with these operators who are in these really tense environments where there's all these tools looking for electronic signals. The problem with our phone right now for these guys, and they're using it, is it's too quiet.
What do you mean it's too quiet?
Our phone is making far less calls than other phones because we're blocking all of this data harvesting, right? So like a normal iPhone is going around like you don't realize you're not even using the app, and these data harvesting app servers are being called over and over and over again. That's traffic that these adversaries can see. Our phone is quieter because we're stopping that.
So that's good.
It's good, but we're creating layers of spoof signal right now so that our phone looks like another phone.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So because it gets too quiet, enemies can be like, ooh, that's one of their
That's
guys
one
there.
of their security phones, right? So we're literally designing features where it's like fake bullshit signal. It's like just look like some asshole on Instagram ordering pizza or whatever, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So again, then there's like, what data do we keep? What data comes back to us? And the answer is literally nothing. And this is very auditable, right? Like our finances, we have two sources of financial income. Cash comes to us two ways. You can buy the phone or accessories, and we sell a software subscription for features on the phone, like the VPN, and we have an encrypted cloud service, like an iCloud type product. But even there, we don't have the keys to that. So when you set up and you move your photos over, right, it says to you like, Julian, hold this key, share it with Joe. You do not want to lose this key. We do not have this key.
So it's kind of like crypto.
It's yes. Like if government comes to us, or Israeli or American, and says, "Give me Julian's photos," I'm like, all I have is this encrypted garbage. I don't have shit. So like, we literally hold no data. We hold no data. We want no data.
Is there a back door though? I'm just thinking.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I mean, we got to talk. I'm using a parallel term here, but you got to talk about 0-day type things, because anything technology could have that. Is there a back door where something like a Pegasus could get in and take stuff?
Let's talk about it. That is possible. Any piece of electronics can be hacked. We happen to have a unique feature to help with this called a hardware kill switch. Why does this matter? I normally just turn my phone off with software, right? I push a button, it says off, restart, I turn it off. After I turn it off, I use a little pen and I click that switch, and that separates the battery from the phone. Why do I do that? Because then it's like really off, right? It is possible that I could be targeted with something like Pegasus. And let's talk about the realities of this. Pegasus is extremely expensive to deploy, and it's used very rarely, though it is used.
For people out there who don't know what Pegasus is, will you mind just
Sure.
explaining?
Pegasus is an offensive software tool that actually my partner, Iran, knows some of the people who were involved in that.
Oh, that's not promising.
Well, I think it is. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it's really encouraging. I'll tell you why it's really encouraging. Iran and Eric, why did they start this company? They were involved in using people's cell phone signals to find them. And they realized very clearly, we cannot live in a world like this. Like, what do you think, Eric? Eric, okay, I'll put it this way. I sent, there was recently, if you recall, the Iranian generals were all killed in a single night. And there was one video where the explosion was extremely targeted. And I sent it to Eric, and he just texts back, add ID. So what I'm trying to say is the people who actually do this stuff, I'm not saying Eric did that one. I'm just saying he knows how these things happen, right? What I'm saying, and I mean that, I don't believe Eric was involved in that at all, but what I mean is he knows how these things happen, right? So he goes, add ID, and like, that's how this works, right? So the guys who were doing that were like, our families are walking around with targeting vectors. I use that phrase. They are targeting vectors.
Yes.
So, and it's all commercial. They didn't need Pegasus to do that. It was just the ad ID.
Yeah, Pegasus is just a whole different level.
So what is Pegasus? Pegasus is a much higher end bespoke software that can be put onto the phone via various means. And again, this is like a team of people are deployed to get it on a certain target's phone.
All you do is, the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong here, Joe, all you have to do is send the text. I don't even have to open it, and they're in.
Sure, I imagine that is plausible. I imagine that series of events is plausible. That is totally plausible. And again, I think we need to reroute a little bit. Pegasus has been used tens of thousands of times. The third-party tracking data, which was used for the whole GWAT to find all these terrorists, is just ad ID data. That is everywhere, spewing out of not this phone, spewing out of other phones. It's endless. Okay, so. Could something like Pegasus target our phone? Yes, something like Pegasus could target our phone. Do I think that has happened? I think that it is harder to target our phone than other consumer phones because it's a newer operating system. That doesn't mean it is impenetrable and unhackable. I think that's kind of a foolish claim. The way we think about it again is the pyramid, right? So I'll get to Pegasus. Bottom of the pyramid is third-party data. The next real risk is your phone could get taken, right? By law enforcement. It could get taken by someone who could hold you hostage. People don't realize this. When you cross borders, your phone is...
Oh, it's wiped.
You have no rights. They can say, open the phone, right? Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of countries I can't go to.
So we have features like this that are important for people who are concerned about this, where, for example, I can create a false PIN code, right? I can create a false PIN code on this phone where if someone says, open this phone, I can go, sure, my code is 1212, and they just wipe the phone.
And they say you're lying.
Well, what they open up is a phone that doesn't look wiped, but all my data is gone. We have another thing where I can say, hey, it's right here. If I'm not back here by Wednesday at noon, wipe, right? So these are protections for this second layer of the pyramid. Why is it the second layer? Because it's more rare, but you're very vulnerable if your phone is taken and opened, right? And then last, there's the top of the pyramid, which is this like very serious, Pegasus-like or digital penetration of the phone. And is that plausible that could happen? That could happen to any electronics. However, software cannot overcome a lack of electricity. So what is the big risk of Pegasus? The big risk of something like Pegasus is your phone turns into a microphone that you don't know is with you. So you think you turn your phone off, you bring it into the important meeting in the skiff, and it's transmitting, not when there's no battery. So again, the way we see this is about there's layers to this. It's like a diamond with different facets, and it's about increasing your odds on every scenario. Yeah. Our goal is not, you don't need to be faster than the bear. You need to be faster than the other hunter.
I agree with that. And I do when you're talking about across vast society, what the clear, enemy, if you will, is here. Yes, I would agree. It's the third-party data system because that's applicable to all of us in a lot of different ways and our rights potentially being violated. Get all that. Pegasus, they don't need to use Pegasus on my phone or Joe's phone or something like that. They do need to use it on Eric Prince's phone, though. They do need to go after people who are actually like important in the world and how things work, and they can. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.